Good morning. On this day, Wednesday, December 11, 2013, at 10:31 a.m., a meeting of the Committee on the Administration of the Board of Commissioners of the Chicago Park District is being held in the 8th floor boardroom of the Administration Building, located at 541 North Fairbanks. Will the Secretary please take a roll call?
Chair Vice President Lavelle.
Here.
Vice Chair Commissioner Edwards.
Here.
President Trobert.
Here.
Commissioner Allen.
Here.
Commissioner Koldyke.
Here.
Quorum is present. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Salgado and Chief Administrative Officer Tanya Anthony are also in attendance.
Thank you. Will the meeting please come to order? Item number 1 from the Director of Budget and Management, 2014 Annual Appropriation Ordinance and Budget Recommendation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Board President, Commissioners, Chief Administrative Officer. Juliet Azimi, Director of Budget and Management, recommending adoption of the Annual Appropriation Ordinance for the fiscal year 2014. Prior to the beginning of the fiscal year, which commences on January 1st, 2014, the Board of Commissioners must adopt an appropriation ordinance that appropriates such sums of money required to meet all necessary expenditures during the fiscal year. The 2014 budget appropriation submitted for adoption includes projected revenues, estimated expenditures, and recommended allotments. It is balanced at $425.6 million, which is a 3.6% increase over the 2013 budget. As you know, this represents the final step after months of budget planning that involves a significant amount of public and internal input. The end result of this process is the budget before you, which I am proud to say incorporates cost savings and efficiencies in our healthcare, utilities, and purchasing, and raises the revenue necessary to continue to invest in the children and families of Chicago. It supports the expansion of events and programming while holding the line on rates for program fees, harbor fees, and room rentals. As you heard last week at the public hearing, the 2014 proposed budget has the support of Friends of the Parks and the Civic Federation. Citing a passage from the Civic Federation's report, the budget takes a financially responsible approach to reduce the district's ongoing structural deficit and leaves the district well positioned to implement proposed comprehensive pension reforms that would stabilize the district's retirement system and long-term finances. Before I turn it over to you for questions, I'd like to briefly acknowledge my amazing staff for their hard work on this budget, all the Park District staff and the departments and parks who collaborated on this budget, the support and guidance of our CFO, Steve Lux, Chief Administrative Officer, Tanya Anthony, our General Superintendent and CEO, Mike Kelly, whose leadership has caused the Park District to, again, quote the Civic Federation, to become an entity that has a set a strong example for other local governments. Of course, thank you to the board, and in particular, Board President Trobert, for your regular participation and hands-on approach to our financial matters. I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there comments or questions from the board?
I would just like to emphasize what you said, and that is, I mean, this is a big deal to pass the budget, and I wouldn't want anyone to think that this is the due diligence here at this meeting. This is, as you said, the culmination of hundreds and hundreds of hours of staff work, community input, regional meetings, and of course then last week's budget meeting where things we really drilled down and asked some tough questions. So while this is the actual vote, it represents a lot more than what we're seeing just here today. And I want to thank you and your staff for all the fine work that you've done. I know there's a lot of work done, and the cliche is that budgets tell priorities, and we know what your priorities are, and that's fiscal responsibility and serving the people of Chicago in the most efficient way that you can. So thanks for this very, very good work.
Thank you.
On that note, is there a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Will the Secretary please take a roll call for the adoption of this matter?
Chair Vice President Lavelle.
Aye.
Vice Chair Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
President Trobert.
Aye.
Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Koldyke.
Aye.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Good job. Thank you. Item number 2 from the Director of Budget and Management, an ordinance authorizing transfer among operating funds.
Good morning. Again, Juliet Azimi, Director of Budget and Management, recommending a transfer of funds in the amount of $3,246,000 from the Corporate Fund Personnel Services account class to the Corporate Fund Contractual Services account class. Pursuant to the budget ordinance adopted on December 12, 2012, appropriating the 2013 budget, the Code of the Chicago Park District requires board approval for transfers among appropriations. This is a general housekeeping matter. We do this generally this time of year once we have a good idea where year-end expenditures will end, where we might have some overages and some under budget. So this will allow us to make a transfer between the classes and still stay within the original appropriation of $410.9 million.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
If there is no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item number 3 from the Director of Purchasing, amendment to Chapter 11 of the Code of the Chicago Park District.
President Traubert, Commissioners, good morning. My name is Rafi Sarafian, Director of Purchasing. I'm here today to recommend that the Board of Commissioners grant authority to amend Chapter 11, Section A2 of the Code of the Chicago Park District to add, quote, artistic services, end quote, to the list of goods and services that need not be procured by the Director of Purchasing and are exempt from the requirement of Chapter 11, and also to amend Chapter 11A3 to add a definition of, quote, artistic services. Section 7.02 of the Chicago Park District Act, 70 ILCS 1505/7.02, enables the Board of Commissioners to establish by ordinance all needful rules and regulations for the government and protection of parks. Chapter 11, Section A2 of the Code of the Chicago Park District currently identifies 6 items that need not be procured by the Director of Purchasing and are exempt from the requirements of Chapter 11. Catering services, concession permit agreements pursuant to Chapter 9 of the Code, professional, financial, and training services, published books, maps, periodicals, and technical pamphlets, real property, and works of public art for public display. The procurement of these items is either accounted for in other chapters of the Code or cannot be adapted to competitive bid, proposal, or qualification processes. The services of artists, dancers, musicians, performance artists, sculptors, and theatrical production companies involve a high degree of professional or unique skills and creativity. To describe the level of creativity and skills required in the scope of services would be very imprecise and imperfect. Further, these services are inherently aesthetic, and to evaluate bids, qualifications, or proposals would involve a high degree of subjective analysis. Similar to the current list of exemptions in Chapter 11 of the Code, artistic services are by their very nature services that do not match well with the competitive procurement process. Therefore, it is in the best interest of the Chicago Park District to amend Chapter 11, Section A2 exemptions to add artistic services to the list of goods and services that are exempt from the responsibilities of the Director of Purchasing and requirements of Chapter 11. The amendment will become effective upon approval by the Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Sarafian, would you please explain to the board and the members here present why this is necessary?
We procure art annually on a frequent basis, whether it's art that you see on the lakefront, whether it's theatrical groups to perform in parks, whether it's dance groups to perform in parks. We are often procuring artistic services, and these services don't adapt well to a competitive procurement process. And the purpose of this would be for us to expedite the way we procure artistic services, but also come up with a process that fits the nature of artistic services. I don't know how we could put together a scope of services to say we're looking to purchase a piece of art on the lakefront, or to hire a dance group, or to hire a singer, or to bring in musicians to play at a park. It's very difficult, and the analysis would be highly, highly subjective. So in line with the other exemptions currently in our code, and those items are there for similar reasons, to me, this would be the way to go to pull them out of Chapter 11.
And this is important. I'm sorry. This is important at this time for a particular reason?
Yes. The immediacy right here is Night Out in the Parks. The staff from Cultural and Natural Resources is right now in the process of lining up all the talent for Night Out in the Parks 2014. So there is an urgency there. The artists need to have their schedules lined up already, and so the department here needs to have a process in place immediately.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Does this in any way lessen the oversight that
No.
the Park District is under in terms of looking at fees and what you're paying for this?
No, those processes will still be in place. I mean, the oversight and the management of the artist, the fees that they're charging the Park District, the oversight of all that will still be in place. All this speaks to is the Chapter 11, the procurement side of things.
Does this in any way free you from the constraints and discipline of a budget?
Again, the budget and the management of it would speak to the departments and their operational budgets and what they can plan for the year, and that oversight would still be in place.
There's still a level of scrutiny that the paperwork still has to route through the budget office and get approval. So the funding still has to be allocated. The budget office will sign off that the finances are available. So there would be no circumvention of that process.
And what about MBE, WBE considerations to make sure that there is fair participation for artists of all?
Sure. The Department of Cultural and Natural Resources does reach out as much as they can to all the communities across the city to bring in artists that come from the different communities of the city. Also, a number. The groups that have already performed, let's say, for Night Out in the Park, they have among their staffs, production staffs and the performers, diverse representation too, whether it's gender, race, ethnicity. So that there are ways that they are cognizant of, and they are speaking, and they are addressing the issue of an inclusive process as it speaks to diversity.
Okay. Any further questions or concerns from the board? Can we entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the Committee on Administration. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Hearing none against, that motion is carried. The Committee on Administration is now adjourned.
On this day, Wednesday, December 11th, 2013, at 10:43 a.m., a meeting of the Committee on Programs and Recreation of the Board of Commissioners of the Chicago Park District is being held in the 8th floor boardroom of the Administration Building located at 541 North Fairbanks. Will the Secretary please take a roll call?
Chair Commissioner Salgado.
Here.
Vice Chair Commissioner Allen. Here. Commissioner Edwards.
Here.
Vice President Lavelle.
Here.
President Trobert.
Here.
Quorum is present. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Koldyke, Chief Administrative Officer Tanya Anthony are also in attendance.
This meeting will please come to order. Item number 1 from the Director of Cultural and Natural Resources, authorization to increase the general admission fee at the Field Museum. Adam?
Good morning, Commissioners. Adam Schwerner, Director for Department of Cultural and Natural Resources. The item before you this morning is a request from the Field Museum to raise admission price for non-Chicago residents over the age of 3 by $3. If this change is approved, it will be effective on January 1st, 2014. A little background, the museum's last request was in December 2008. Like many entities, the Field Museum's operations and fundraising have been hit by economic recession. In response to the economic downturn, the museum first reduced its operating budget by $5 million through reduction in staff levels, as well as enacting cost-saving measures for utilities and reorganizing its organizational structure. Say that three times. The museum is now at the point where an increase in revenue from admissions is needed, and once again I would like to reiterate the increase is only for non-Chicago residents. After the increase, the museum's pricing for non-residents to see the entire museum will still be the second lowest among the 5 major museums in the city. And then I'd like to hand it over to Jim Croft, who's the Executive Vice President for the museum. And Jim?
Thank you, sir. President Trobert, Commissioners, it's a pleasure to be here today representing the Field Museum, one of the foremost leading natural science research museums in the country, with over 26 million objects in the collection and research faculty and education staff that are amongst the best in the United States. First of all, I would like to, on behalf of the museum, say again thank you to the Chicago Park District for the wonderful support that you give to the Field Museum and the other museums in the city of Chicago. We are grateful for this support and for what it means to our program to serve our community. Today, I would respectfully ask that you approve an increase in the admission price of the general admission for non-Chicago residents effective on January 1st, 2014. The price, as you heard, would increase the non-Chicago residents fee by $3 on all categories with the exception of children under the age of 3. Among our cultural institutions in the city, the Field Museum's new price for non-Chicago residents will be the second lowest in the city and will also allow visitors to see at least 91% of the museum's public space, and by the way, the public space is about 591 square feet, based on that new fee. And this includes things such as Sue the T-Rex, one of the most iconic artifacts that we have in the city. The collection will also allow visitors to see all of the new exhibits that the museum has produced in the last few years. And the price for non-Chicago residents will also be the second least expensive for children, students, and seniors in the city. And we've also taken a look at the admission price as it relates to other like institutions outside of Chicago, and institutions such as the American Museum in New York and the Denver Museum of Natural Science are all at the comparable level with us. The museum has continued to put great emphasis on trying to be accessible. And this is one of the reasons we specifically said at this time we did not want this price increase to be affecting the citizens of Chicago. We, in addition to the 52 free days that we give each year, the museum grants free admission to teachers, Illinois school children on field trips, active military personnel, police officers, firefighters, and families using the Kids Museum Pass, among others. The rationale for this request, as you heard, the economic downturn has affected us like it has affected everyone. The museum's operating budget was reduced this year by $5 million, and we did that through a combination of early retirement, not filling staff positions, eliminating positions. We also have to deal with the fact that many of the revenue streams that were affected by the recession have not come back to their full capacity. But we are in an effort in the next few years to find ways to increase our own earned revenue, and that includes both the earned revenue within the museum and philanthropy, and also to develop strategies of investing our endowment to give us the greatest impact of those funds for the continuation of our program. The museum's priority is to increase revenue to build capacity. We want to continue the work that we've done in the past to partner with the Chicago Park District and the Chicago Public Schools to provide opportunities for children through field trip visits, through education of teachers, through loaning of artifacts to the schools through our Harris Loan Program, which, by the way, is the oldest such program in the country, which was started in 1912 and continues today. And we also would like to be able to continue our work with the Park District in other projects, such as the work at Northerly Island, where currently the museum is advising the Park District on ecological restoration. We have partnered with the Park District in programs with the Burnham Wildlife Habitat to connect people of the Bronzeville and Pilsen lakefront restoration activities, as well as many other activities throughout the city of Chicago. We believe that this price increase will help us to continue those strong programs and to continue to be a vital force of cultural and scientific education and research in this community. Therefore, I would respectfully request your approval of this request.
Mayor? Okay. I found myself counting how many times you said non-resident.
Ma'am.
So I think it was 5 or 6, so I think we really got that point. But
Right.
my question is, what percent of your annual visitor base are non-residents?
The non-residents would be non-residents of Chicago, about 80%.
80%. So it's mostly people from outside Chicago who are attending.
Illinois,
Mhm.
the collar states, and then also other states of the union, and then international
Mhm.
visitors.
So this is for non-residents of Chicago.
Yes,
So, okay.
non-residents of
Mhm.
Chicago.
All
That's
right.
correct.
And what do you anticipate this price increase will generate with respect to revenue for the museum?
We have projected that in the 2014 budget, this will generate an additional $300,000.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, first of all, thanks for being here. And I think, I speak on behalf of the board and many people in Chicago to say that, your financial situation has been well publicized, and I think we admire the current leadership and the clear-eyed and honest view that you're taking of the challenges that you have, and what you're doing some tough stuff to take it on. And thank you, because I think you're going to preserve the viability of this vital institution for our kids and our grandkids. So thank you very much for doing that. I'd also note that in this your financial, with all the other things you're dealing with, you've taken on an additional $170,000 in fees to the city for water and sewer that you didn't have before as well. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. But anyway, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you say $300,000?
$300,000.
So it'll only apply to 100,000 visitors a year?
Well, the amount of revenue that this will generate, we're projecting with our attendance base. Our attendance has been relatively flat.
What is attendance?
Attendance has ranged over the last 90 years of 1.1 million to 1.3 million. Currently, we're at a level of about 1.2.
But if 80%,
But $3 times 1 million people is $3 million.
I understand, but the we also have the free days,
Right.
and not all. The price differential, as we've calculated, would be the 300,000. We've tried to do this by going into detail with the number of visitors and the discounts that we've been giving.
So how many, just along that same, of the 1.1 million visitors?
1.1, 1.2.
Yeah, how many are actual, payers versus students coming on buses for field trips and that kind of thing? So 80% are outside, you said, right? So that would be about 800,000?
roughly, yeah.
Mhm.
So only 100,000 of that 800,000 are actually paying folks, non-resident?
Well, yes, that's correct, because of the number I gave you, not all are paying. Roughly 40% of the total attendance is given some type of free admission or discount admission.
Are you just being very conservative?
We're
about
being
it?
very conservative, yes. I hope I'm wrong on the low end.
Me too.
I'm also the finance officer, and you know how we are.
Well, maybe you'll be very pleasantly surprised at
I
the
hope
end
I
of
am.
this.
And if I am pleasantly surprised, I'll be more than happy to come back and tell you that I made a mistake on that side.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Yeah. So moved.
Second.
Will Secretary take a roll call for the adoption of the matter?
Chair Commissioner Salgado,
Aye.
Vice Chair Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Vice President Lavelle,
Aye.
President Trubert.
Aye.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome. Good luck to you.
Item number 2 from the Director of Revenue, authority to enter into agreement for dock space at DuSable Harbor.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chief Anthony. It is recommended that the General Superintendent or his designee be authorized to enter into an agreement with TD Enterprises Incorporated, doing business as Anita D. Chartered Yards, for dock space at Grand Park on the Chicago River located north and east DuSable Harbor bulkhead walls. We're looking for a 10-year agreement. It's going to bring in roughly over $1 million. This is, I think, a true win-win for all involved. This is a space that's tremendously underutilized. It's not a space that's used for docking right now. The group that's looking to come in was a group that was previously at Navy Pier, and this is a great way to keep this revenue in the city of Chicago. They were actually looking to leave to go to Florida. I do have with me today some family members of the company. Not sure if they'd like to come up and give a short statement to the board.
We'd like to hear from them.
Yeah, I'd love to hear just a quick history of your business.
Sure. Good morning.
Morning.
My name's Anthony DeFiglio. The business was originally created by my grandfather, Tony Sr. over here. I think throughout the years he's had 3 different boats. We're currently operating 2 boats. We do private events, mostly corporate events, a lot of weddings, any kind of social gathering. We also do ticketed sales, and we're looking for new dock space. And working with West Trek, we found a really good spot, which is what we're talking about now. And we're looking to stay in Chicago and grow. So,
You've been here how long in Chicago?
company's been incorporated since 1982. We've always been in Chicago.
Which boats do you operate with?
Anita D and the Anita D2.
Seen them. They're beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And why were you looking for new dock space?
We did not renew our lease with the pier. Their prices got very high, and they are eliminating vessels as well.
So they're going to be in a space that we really haven't used very much, but it's really close to where you were. It's right on the other side of the bridge, right?
Yeah, we can see our dock space from the pier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, the pier is
You know the pier is.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a squeeze in here some sort of way. Yeah. But I think it's going to result in something good for you all, because that space is actually a little bit more accessible to walk-up traffic and to people who don't necessarily want to be in the middle of all that activity at the pier. So
We agree.
I think it's good. And we're happy that you are not going to Florida.
Yeah, so are we.
Yes.
Today he may wish he wasn't.
We all do.
That's another discussion, yeah. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Alonso, do we have any other space like this that's, we identified this space for these particular, vessels. Is there a further strategy along this regards?
It's funny that you asked that. We have also identified 3 other locations throughout the district. Some on the river, such as at Ping Tom, and there are 2 other. There's a total of 3 other vendors who we work with in this capacity. The major difference is this vendor here is looking for a 10-year deal versus the other vendors have 3 to 5 year deals that fall within our concession agreements.
So those agreements are already in place. You're saying?
Those agreements are currently in place, yes, sir.
Okay.
And we continue to work with our vendor West Track and others throughout the Park District to find underutilized space in order to bring in additional revenue.
So, Alonzo, can you break down the numbers for us? What are we going to have to pay for improvements there to accommodate them, and what are we going to get?
Sure. So we're going to need to pay roughly $150,000 of capital dollars. We're going to. Our plan is to pay that out of our harbor improvement fees. We have roughly $750,000, so that still leaves us $600,000 for the year 2014. We're going to get $115,000 per year. So when it's all said and done, we plan to make $1 million off of this agreement within the 10-year period.
After the initial capital expenditure, do we anticipate having to spend something in the ensuing years as well, though, right?
Actually, no. Once we set the utilities together, we should be good to go.
I'd just like to address the board really quickly. This is an exciting opportunity for the Park District to get additional revenue that we didn't necessarily seek, and it kind of just came to us. So not only the revenue that we'll get from the vendor, but it is expected, Alonzo, right, that the parking will actually increase because of the additional traffic.
Correct. We're projecting that because of the additional traffic, we're looking at a minimum of 20,000 per year of parking at DuSable Harbor. In addition, we've also worked out a deal that we're going to have usage of the boats a minimum 1 day for both boats, and that equates to roughly a little bit over $5,000 in value. So this is a win-win for all. Here's an opportunity for us to potentially have activities for our day campers after day camp and culminate with a cruise, something that a lot of Chicago kids have not particularly had the opportunity to do.
The parking, this is near where the Kraft Building used to be, right?
Yeah, I don't know the crowd. I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's a whole nother life. Pardon me. Okay. So this is the parking under Lakeshore Drive?
This is the parking under Lakeshore Drive, correct.
Okay. All right. Kraft Building. Silly me. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
No.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
That concludes the Committee on Programs and Recreation. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carried. The Committee on Programs and Recreation is now adjourned.
On this day, Wednesday, December 11, 2013, at 11:05, a meeting of the Committee of Capital Improvements of the Board of Commissioners of the Chicago Park District is being held in the 8th floor boardroom of the Administrative Building, located at 541 North Fairbanks. Will the Secretary please take a roll call?
Chair Commissioner Koldyke.
Here.
Vice Chair Commissioner Salgado.
Here.
Commissioner Allen. Here. Commissioner Lavelle.
Here.
I'm sorry, that would be Vice President Lavelle.
Oh, it's okay.
Excuse me. President Trobert.
Here.
Quorum is present, so let the record reflect that Commissioner Edwards and Chief Administrative Officer Tanya Anthony are also in attendance.
Meeting will please come to order. Item number 1 from the Director of Planning and Construction, authorization to enter into a contract for Garfield Park Conservatory rehabilitation of public housing. Rob.
One second, I have a presentation to pull up.
He's been great so far.
Thanks for your patience. Just one more second.
Sure.
It's never happened with Gia.
Zing!
We've got more projects.
Good one.
On time, under budget.
Happy holidays, Rob.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, again, good morning. Rob Raymond, Director of Planning and Construction. It's recommended that the General Superintendent and CEO or his designee enter into a contract with FH Passion, SN Nielsen and Associates, LLC for the rehabilitation of the public houses at the Garfield Park Conservatory. The contractor was selected pursuant to bidding. And construction will be substantially completed by September 15th, 2014, with a contract amount not to exceed $5,420,000. The minority business participation is 25%, and women-owned business participation is 5%. Garfield Park is located at 100 North Central Park Drive. It's a large park at 184 acres in Central Region, Ward 28, New Ward, again 28, and the East Garfield Park community area. This is an overhead of the park itself, showing the conservatory and public houses. Again, this is a reminder in June of 2011, all the hail damage that decimated the facility broke out about 60% of the glass in the entire facility. Again, a picture of the public houses. And this is an overview of where we're at to date, given the amount of damage. So the areas in yellow, the propagating houses, as well as the areas in green, which would be Hort Hall, Show House, Palm House, Arrowhead House, and Children's Garden, are all finished. What's left to do, and it's the subject of this contract, is the Desert House and Fern Room. The work will include complete removal of the temporary roof covering materials and installation of a new 1/4-inch thick laminated glass in the roof and overhead vents, reconditioning and strengthening of the steel roof framing members, repair to concrete foundation walls, removal and replacement of wood beam roof framing, replacement of wooden windows, window sills and jambs, and repairs to the roof drainage system and assessment of roof vents. This is a picture of some of the work that had been going on previous contracts. You can see the show house, the new glass coming in this shot, and on the other side, the temporary roofing that was put over Fern that's now going to be coming off and be getting brand new glass. So basically, due to this hailstorm, the entire facility is being completely redone and new tempered glass that's resistant to storm damage, as well as getting upgrades throughout the entire facility, basically snapping this entire facility up into a like new condition. So while it was an unfortunate event that does cost us some money out of pocket, it's completely renewing this entire facility. So there's, there's an upside to this. Just where we're at totally to date, we're at, including this contract, we'll be at $15,200,000 approximately in work. So the insurance recovery money is about $9.2 million, and Park District costs are around $5.6. And that 5.6 again is to do upgrades that we might as well be doing while all the glass is removed again. Rust removal and strengthening of steel members, replacement of rotten wood members, taking care of vents, old windows and window jambs, cracked foundation work, drainage, and all that. So that's where we are to date, and this is the last contract. If there's any questions, I can answer them.
This glass is much better glass than what we had, isn't it?
Correct. Tempered glass, it's resistant to damage. I don't think we would, now if we had the exact same hail storm, we would not experience the same damage.
The same damage. Any?
I can't imagine unless we had some really substantial hail and driving winds that we're going to see something like that. I mean, the building's been there for, how many years now?
We went through this originally.
Yeah.
It's storm resistant, not storm proof.
Right.
The roof was crazy expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could go up to 1/2-inch tempered glass that would take someone throwing rocks at it. But again, we went with what's reasonable, what's going to hold up, and I don't see us needing to do capital improvements of this nature with any of our lifetimes.
Rob, what does this do to our insurability going forward? Obviously, we were fortunate enough to have insurance on this. It's quite an insurance claim.
Right. That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that right now, whether that had an effect on our insurance rate, given that there's an upgrade to the resistance in the glass. I know we didn't have to pay for the upgrade in glass because the new glass that's going in is a requirement by code to put in. Once you remove that the old glass, the new glass that you have to put in, it wasn't a choice for us to upgrade the glass. It was a requirement. So that was a fortunate thing due to the Chicago Building Code that we got that glass upgrade through insurance.
And Rob, when you mentioned that the total expense is 5.2, 9.2 insurance, 5.6 us, then that $400,000 gap, is that philanthropy?
Actually, yes. So the Conservancy has been raising money, and actually the that those funds were intended to be for a complete redo of the Desert House glass. There was not enough damage there to justify complete removal and replacement, but the Conservancy and we also thought it would be a very good idea to do a complete replacement and have that house done again in case of another hailstorm, and just to have a completely done facility. So those private fundraising efforts were done for that specifically.
It's a jewel.
It is. It's beautiful.
Is the Lincoln Park facility in about the same state that this was in before the hailstorm hit it?
I know less about it than Adam, but I've been through it several times, and there are definite upgrades that need to happen inside that facility. So, if we could get another hailstorm that would just hit that one, maybe
we'll work on that. Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Will the Secretary please take a roll call for the adoption of the matter?
Chair Commissioner Koldyke,
Aye.
Vice Chair Commissioner Salgado,
Aye.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Vice President Lavelle,
Aye.
President Traubert.
Aye.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item 2 from the Director of Planning and Construction, authorization to issue final payment for work completed in connection with Livingston Park Field, the new artificial turf, athletic field, and passive park. Rob?
Thank you. This is to certify that Key Construction on November 25th, 2013 completed in a satisfactory manner and in full compliance with the terms and conditions of the contract all work in connection with Livingston Park Field, new artificial turf, athletic field, and passive park. It's therefore recommended that an order be approved for final payment in favor of Key Construction in the amount of $61,236.95. The original contract amount was $1,573,870. The approved change orders were $247,444, and the total contract amount therefore ended up at $1,821,314. The change orders constitute a 15% increase in the overall cost. The majority of that was unforeseen conditions due to unsuitable soils that were uncovered during construction that had to be excavated and then refilled. And given that this was enrolled in the site remediation program, there were some additional costs. That change order did come to board for approval, but I just thought I'd mention that to explain, again, the nature of that change order. The MBWB participation are 25 and 5% on the contract. And quickly, Livingston Field is at 2139 Lexington. It's a 1.85 acre park in the central region, 25th Ward. The new ward will be Ward 28 in the near west side. This is the site prior to construction. The ball fields were currently there as a natural turf field, and on the left-hand side was a passive park, and the street ran between. This is a few shots of the site prior to construction. Again, a natural turf field with very heavy use that did experience some of the same problems we have around the district where we do not have a synthetic turf field. Again, a very active site that was Little League programs were started and run by Bob and Tina Muzikowski, the Near West Little League Association, and they secured TIF money for this entire project. This is the site during construction, removal of the roadway, and this is the site post-construction with the new artificial turf that's got 2 ball fields and a junior size or practice size soccer field football. Shot of the new turf, again, incredibly playable in comparison to what they had out there before in terms of the amount of use we can get out of the site. This is the passive park just to the west. Again, it's got a bocce ball court, some pathways and benches, just a nice place to be. This is the new field, just incredibly well used. So again, there are over 24 boys and girls baseball and softball leagues that are run out of the Near West Little League. And there's hundreds of kids from the neighborhood and surrounds, ages 5 to 15, that are served by this location. Again, this entire project was funded by TIF. It's very exciting for us to be bringing the final payment.
My hat's off to the community for the work that they put in to win the support of the administration for using the TIF money. It's beautiful.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Rob, you have The change orders on this?
Yes.
They seem proportionally a little bit higher than other projects?
Yeah, they're 15%. And the change orders, the main change order, there was only one $5,000 change order for some small owner-directed adjustments. The majority was all from unsuitable soils that were environmentally impacted, as well as structurally not stable for support of the artificial turf that had to be overdug and then refilled with compacted fill. And that was not picked up. There's only a certain number of soil borings on site, and that just was not within one of those areas. Unforeseen condition, but again, we try to keep change orders low no matter what. In this case, you know, it was just a condition that had to be addressed to build the field, and again, funded all by TIF.
Great, thank you.
No objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the, oh, I'm sorry. Is there
So
a motion?
moved.
Second.
No objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
That concludes the Committee on Capital Improvements. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion carried. Committee on Capital Improvements is now adjourned. Thank you.
Mhm.